You have to be at your best to win a race because the competition is so hard. Every second matters. Every millimeter on the car matters. That's what's really sexy about racing, is what it takes to win.
To win a race, you have to have incredible commitment.
You race to win. You don't race to hope you do well. You don't race to have a nice-looking car. You race to win.
24 hours of Le Mans, the toughest and most respected race in the world.
The GT40 program was our first venture into European-style road racing against European cars. My father, Henry Ford II, wanted to beat Ferrari at Le Mans.
My uncle, he got to know Enzo Ferrari. And at the time, we were talking about combining forces.
He wanted to buy Ferrari. He was rebuffed.
So my uncle was quite upset by that, and he decided, all right, if we can't join him, let's beat him.
Henry Ford II attended and was given the honor of signaling the famous Le Mans start.
We had a lot riding on it reputationally. We were the interlopers, and I think there wasn't a lot of respect for our efforts prior to us going there. Thankfully, the GT40 was a spectacular race car, and we ultimately won in great style when we finished 1, 2, 3.
This is a remarkable result, and I congratulate the French, and I think we're all lucky to be here to see such a race.
This was June of '66.
Ford is still the only American manufacturer to win the race. But this particular side of Ford racing has been neglected up until now.
I think we've always been thinking about building another Ford GT. I think what probably drove it was the 50th anniversary of the win in '66 that was coming up. And we felt we really have to do something to honor that win.
The birthday party was going to happen one way or another, and the time was ticking because it's part of the rules to go race the GT Le Mans. You have to develop a street car, then you figure out how to meet all the rules and regulations and get it ready to race. And so then we were doing a race car and a road car at exactly the same time. So the pressure's on from the world who's watching. Ford says they're going to do a supercar. How well will they do it?
You're coming in with an all-new car and an all-new team, and you don't know what you don't know, and you won't know until you race.
Oh, sure, it's a big risk. But not when you add in reputation, halo effect, and the morale boost that it gives anybody who loves the Ford brand. This car will, in the scheme of our earnings, not make much difference. But in the reputation of the Ford Motor Company, which is something that I care deeply about, this car will be huge.
It represents honoring our heritage. Our heritage is very important. At our heart, we're a family company.
I always say we work for a company called Ford Motor Company, but we actually work for a family, and that's called the Ford family. And so it's important for us to be able to go back to Le Mans and do it in a way that celebrates the heritage, and also, hopefully, if we're successful, give the Ford family something that I would love to give them, which is that trophy. I think people set their own boundaries in life. What I mean by that is you can't have fear, because if you're going to be great, if you're going to push the boundaries, you're going to fail at times. So if you have a fear of failure, you're probably in the wrong job.
When you're doing the next Ford GT, you're promising a lot. We all loved the concept, but how are we going to have something that looks completely modern, yet unmistakably a Ford GT?
If you're going to do a supercar, it has to race. But you have to also have it street available.
This is the first time where we've simultaneously engineered a race car and a road car together.
Race car development and production car development almost start at opposite ends. Race car, we start from the tire and we optimize everything to what does the tire want. Production car, we start from the driver, and then we work everything downstream of the driver to make it feel right. trying to combine those two, I think we had our doubts of whether we were going to be able to do that or not. But it all just melded together like that was the original idea. This car was really designed on the computer first. So much of it was driven by the aerodynamics, creating the tunnels and the buttresses.
It was a decision on the part of the team to use it almost as a laboratory for what is possible for the rest of the Ford line.
Carbon fiber has had tremendous application in racing already. To get the weight out, to get the strength up, Ford GT is almost entirely carbon fiber.
We're learning a lot from that, and we're working with our partners to figure out how to make it lower cost so that we can then expand the use of carbon fiber through the rest of the Ford lineup. And then there's the EcoBoost engine.
EcoBoost technology is a key strategy for us in delivering both fuel efficiency but also horsepower, so a win-win solution.
Who would have thought that we'd be putting a V6 engine in a supercar? That's a bold statement when we said we were going to do that.
If we could take a mainstream engine that people can buy and you race with it, that does a lot for reputation.
Those are just a couple of the examples of technologies that will all be valuable in designing the next Ford Fusion or the next Mustang GT.
This is a technological statement. The aerodynamics, the lightweighting, the electronics. This is taking on absolutely the best tech in the world, and it's doing it head to head.
It's a technology showcase. It's an incredible engineering achievement, but it's also something that comes from the heart.
When I first saw the GT, I was very nervous because I am very critical and I'm always afraid we're not going to get it right. But when I saw it, particularly at the back end, which is so different, I stopped, kind of held my breath for a second, and then I thought, wow, this is spectacular. You can't have more fun than getting in a car like this and just letting it rip. I just can't wait to get my hands on the thing. I've got serial number 1 on order, and that car will not be bubble wrapped. It won't be sitting in a museum somewhere. It'll be driven by me as much as I can.
You know, the first time you get in a prototype, it's a nervous moment. You can kind of tell if you got the basics right. Is this something you're going to be able to work with, or is this going to be a long haul?
This is everything we've been working towards here together, Multimatic and Ford. There's going to be a couple of milestones. One important one is the first day we ever run the racing car.
It's an important day for any new production car or race car, that first shakedown. It's your first chance to figure out the character of the car. If it's not good out of the box, it's going to be tough to make it good and really tough to make it great.
Today is just exciting to get the car actually on the track, right? So expectations were not high. It was mainly just to see the car move. What we're seeing today, though, is we're seeing a car that's almost ready to race.
It's been running good, but more importantly, it feels right. It's doing what the simulation said it would do. Usually for a shakedown, we're working out structural issues that are wrong, that, you know, the car doesn't have the right balance, or we need to go back and rethink. And we're already beyond that step and talking about tuning the car, you know, things that usually happen weeks or maybe even months later. So it's been a very good start. We don't want to be overconfident. We're almost kind of worried about how good it's going.
Welcome, everyone, to Daytona. I'm Brian Till. Thrilled to be a part of another Rolex 24, and that Ford GT has everyone talking.
The Rolex 24 will mark the Ford GT's return to sports car racing. It's the first 24-hour race of the season. It's the first race of the season. So it'll give us a chance to really prove the durability of the car.
They roll into the throttle. We are green at Daytona. The Rolex 24 is underway, and Aloshin able to stay low.
We're having an all-new car. We're having all-new drivers who have no familiarity with those vehicles. Having said that, I expect us to win.
But boy, he's got speed. As they come out now, Joey to the outside.
He pulled the draft early and popped out. Runs alongside. He's going to cross the stripe in the lead. Can he hold it down into turn one? Ford leads on their debut. Ford versus Chevrolet here on the high banks.
This is going to be an interesting one here. Take a look at that Ford.
Oh, delay there.
That was close. Something
happened. There's a problem, yeah. Certainly lost some drive there off for that turn for Ryan Briscoe.
Guys, it's stuck in 6th gear. From the pit road. Yeah, 10-4, pit this lap. So what it's doing is it's just flickering between 5th and 6th gear right now. It's something internal, and we'll go back to the garage.
It's not even trying to actuate. And I think that's
carried out a bit of diagnosis, found that it was one of the pneumatic valves that controls the shifting in the gearbox. Not something we've seen today in testing. It's a shame it had to happen in a race.
I hate losing. I don't like it. To be honest, we expected the reliability to be better. Some of the things that broke today are either not even new for the car. They're parts that a lot of the rest of the field are running as well, but for some reason they broke on our car. Some of the things we wouldn't see in normal testing. You just have to race to see it. That doesn't change the frustration of having that many issues.
This car, since it's been back out and running, Cal, has been running very, very quickly.
It really has. I think Ryan Briscoe may have set the fastest lap of the race in the GTLM category, so has shown pace, and 24-hour race will now become a test session for them. They're looking at the big picture of the championship. I know they wanted success their first time out, but there's a lot of other milestones they're going to try and reach this year as well.
You know, we've got a good amount of time to go back and take a look at what went right and what went wrong, and I think we'll come back ready to go for Sebring, and we'll be even stronger than we are right now.
How did this whole racing thing start for you?
That's a great question. When I was probably 3 years old or 4 years old, my father was in the asphalt paving business, and he paved a go-kart track, and the guy didn't pay him for some reason. So we ended up with 3 go-karts. You know, when you only weigh about 80 pounds, 5 horsepower is a lot. That's how my motorsports career got started.
You know, Chip's an interesting guy. He was a racer himself, driver. He raced Indy cars. He is the second most successful racing team in the U.S. after Roger Penske.
In motorsports, it's so much about the man and the machine, and having to optimize both of those to be successful.
You can throw a lot of technology at race cars, but at the end of the day, it's all about the gentleman or the woman who sits behind the wheel and drives the car.
You know, fortunately, we had a lot of interest in race car drivers and wanting to drive this car. And so a lot of applications came in jointly between ourselves and Chip Ganassi. We went through that process and really got the cream of the crop.
It's a very considered decision selecting the drivers. Primarily, you're looking for speed and consistency. And then after that, you start to get into character and whether or not the guy's a team player.
Chip has this amazing knack to be able to look you right in the eye and know if you're right for us.
There are lots of drivers out there that are fast. In endurance racing, where you share the car, you need to compromise. There's always a little give and take with other drivers. That's ultimately what made the decision for us.
It already feels like the big one for us, you know, because everywhere you go, someone reminds you about the history of Ford in Le Mans. So you're permanently reminded of it, and you can't really escape it.
Ford's history at Le Mans is one of the greatest stories in motorsports of all time, and to be at the return is beyond words.
It's not too often programs come around like this. I haven't even been to Le Mans, so it's, you know, for me, there's going to be a lot of eyes wide open, mouth probably a little bit too occasionally, just, you know, taking it all in.
Winning Le Mans is the reason I wanted to be a racing driver. That's why I always wanted to do it. I didn't want to be a Formula 1 driver. I wanted to win Le Mans. So to be able to achieve that would be incredible. To do it with Ford, 50 years on from that first win, it's an honor.
You know the history of Le Mans. The first thing you think about is the Ford GTs. Suddenly you're being part of that. It's like a dream come true.
For me, that's the first thing that came to mind. I want to be part of that history. I love that everybody's so involved. You know, for us as drivers, we always want to put in a show. We always want to do it for the fans, but now we can also do it for all the people that put their effort into this Ford GT.
To be handed the mantle to make this program be successful and win, that's a big deal. So Ganassi's assembled the kind of driving talent that, you know, there are no excuses. They've been assembled.
and his mechanics and his drivers at Le Mans. It really is the pinnacle in many ways of global racing. And I think we've got a good team together, but we'll see. I mean, it's so unknown. You know, new drivers and new car. I mean, that's tough to come together. It's gonna be cool though.
Early on, it was challenging to get everybody to see what this was all about. We definitely have, you know, a lot of pressure to make sure that we deliver.
Ford went to Le Mans for the first time in 1964. It took until their third year, 66, before they actually won it. You know, I want to go on record here that you know, history says it took 3 years. We're going this year, first year in the 50th anniversary, with a very high expectation. I'm very confident that we have the tools to do it, but you'd be an absolutely arrogant idiot to sit here and say you're going to win Le Mans, because it's a tough race, and it can be very nasty.
Now on board the 66 from Ford, running third right now, Dirk Müller. And, you know, a lot of people were surprised to see some of the problems that they had at the Rolex 24. I don't think we were. Brand new car, first race, what they really want, the prize that they want is Le Mans coming up in June.
Through these first few races, maybe we get our bad luck out of the way.
Yeah, we're seeing that 66 car that's been through the wars a little bit here today.
Problems, it looked like, for both of these Ford GTs.
I think we've been building momentum since Daytona. We've been working on getting everything synced together. You know, getting the whole team, getting the car ready to be durable and run. We want to show up at the track, not have a lot of the extracurricular activity, and just go race.
With every race, we continue to improve and get better and get faster and get more reliable.
Ford has just as much talent as any other car company in the world. This is why they get up in the morning. And this is an opportunity to say, hey, we can do anything anybody else can, and we're coming and we want to win. So it's exciting.
Two Fords getting ready for the big one. This is more like the cars we were expecting to see from Ford at the beginning of the season. These are the Fords we've been looking for.
Everyone's ready, but then the actual race happens and things you just can't predict. It's racing, and everyone knows in racing, things go wrong.
The best racer in the world loses more races than he wins. You have to have a mentality of, if you lose, you don't dwell on losing, you dwell on why did you lose and how are you going to fix that for the next race.
I'm incredibly honored to be going to the Le Mans race this year. I hope we use Le Mans to make some further history.
That story of 66 and Ford is something as an American racer that I feel a strong connection to. It's a very emotional commitment to return to Le Mans 50 years later.
This whole thing is about going back to Le Mans. We're going to go back, and we're going to get it out. We're going to see what we can do.